Hello, everyone. Welcome, first of all, to have just coming in here. I'm so excited to have. So, first of all, ChatGPT. When we say ChatGPT, and this is a big norm which is coming in hand, and how many have the problem hey, ChatGPT is there, but it's not giving me the right results. What's coming to me is not correct, and that is where the real problem comes in. And the problem really here is that how can I use the ChatGPT in the correct way? That's the premise for this talk all about, and we will be discussing that in more detail. So that said, hey, my name is Rohit Bhardwaj. I'm a hands-on director at Salesforce, and the main perspective which I am very passionate about is generative AI. Now, generative AI is giving us, generative AI is really giving us, okay, that's a surprise. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, sorry for that. Double happiness. All right. So generative AI is really giving us a drive. So the perspective which always comes, some people ask the question like, hey, I need to, generative AI is not really giving me the right results. And this is a common problem which happens. What is the real problem? The problem is that we have been given this big, Ferrari to drive this car. We don't know how to drive it. And sometimes it happens like, there's so many things going on. The decisions we need to make, should I take a left turn or right turn? And that is where the AI, we need to make sure that we are able to drive it really well. And that's what this talk is all about. So I'm going to give you an understanding about what the talk is all about. So first, we will be starting with where am I going? What is my north, south, east, west? That is the most important part of the puzzle. Once we solve this puzzle, which is principle of prompting, once you solve this puzzle, it guarantees you have a success in the implementation. Now, that's the first thing we'll be discussing. Next, we'll be diving into requirements. What are the requirements which we normally get? Hey, we get customer requirements. We want to understand those requirements and be able to create a design document based on that. Yeah, that is where the architectural principles comes in play. Now, what we are doing is we are taking the prompt engineering, taking the requirements, putting in a format which is useful. For example, we can have a standard formats for creating the requirements, empathy maps. There are other things we will be discussing, other tools we'll be discussing based on this. And based on that, now we will be creating architectural principles. Architectural principles are the core which are created. If you think about requirements are important, the architectural principles are guiding principles we need to work on. Based on that, what we're going to do, we're going to create non-functional requirements. These non-functional requirements are going to then drive the productivity for us. So that's the main perspective. So the first part of the puzzle, we're going to solve the principles for prompting. Next, we'll go into the requirements. And then the next part is developer productivity. How can I make myself 10x productive using AI? Now, people think that, hey, I give a command to AI, it gave me the answer. That is productivity. Really, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I can guarantee that when you go through the whole course, it's an 8 hours intense workshop. And when I say intense, it means that it's very interactive. I would say that it's more interactive in terms of you will be given exercises to do, and you have to make sure that you come up with a result. And that is that way, we learn from actually doing it. That's the main perspective here. That's where the prompting strategy really comes in play. There are a lot of prompting strategies which we can employ to understand how it is used. Now, anything is not complete till we understand the security part of the puzzle. That is where the OWASP top 10 comes in play. OWASP top 10, we all know OWASP top 10 is a security standards. They have come up with large language models also. By the way, do you know that when Microsoft first came with Bard, people were able to use the prompt injections to really find out the operating system or the how it was actually created, what instructions were used to create the large language model. So see this. So this becomes an important part from an architect perspective if you are going to use it in your projects. Now, what we did was we started with productivity. Hey, how can I understand the requirements, be able to solve this problem? Now, see this, I'm shifting from productivity to actual creation of large language models. So that is the uniqueness of this workshop. The uniqueness of this workshop is that it takes you from the productivity. Now I'm going to actually create the large language model. That means I'm going to look at embeddings. I'm going to look at anomaly detection. I'm going to look at different ways the people are using the currently the system, and what are the different examples for it. What are the different projects which are going on where we can use this. Next, not only that, now I'm going to jump to what? Postman. Why Postman? You say, Rohit, what that Postman has to do with me? Postman is really a good tool which can actually help us interact with our application. Now think about it. If you can interact with Postman and you are pro in interacting with Postman, what is the next step towards it? What is the next step towards it? You just put a UI on top of it. That means you created the API. Now we can create public APIs, your own public APIs you can create based on your large language model. And by the way, we will create larger language model also. So that is where the bonus really starts in play. Once we create the large language model, so that means we're going to start using the ChatGPT. Now, this is additional. We should be able to now look at any file which has come to us, and then we should be able to transform that file, transcode that file into different languages. That could be one project you can do here. Another thing you can do is, now if you see this diagram, this is telling me I create my own custom GPT. How do I create my own custom GPTs? That is something we'll be discussing. Not only will be creating custom GPTs, we can also now expose those custom GPTs to different people and they can start using it. And you can now monetize on top of it. And that is where the real game starting. This is a game changer, I would call it. Now, your application, now think about your company. You are selling a product. You are selling a product. How can you integrate that with ChatGPT so that it can sell the product with just a specification given to you? Hey, I'm looking for example, like, in a house, there's a problem, there's a window problem going on, or there's a refrigerator problem going on. Looking at the refrigerator, different components in the refrigerator, this is the error code which is coming in the refrigerator. Based on that error code, we recommend this product. That product is a link. Now you can go and integrate across different applications using that. That is where the big data really starts. Now, when you are working as an architect, the first thing you're going to face is what? Lot of data, lots and lots of data. How do you analyze the data? How do you store that data? And how do you use that data is very important to understand. Now, what that means, the bonus part of this solution is we can use the big data now with large language model. We can have a large language model created, and how companies are currently using this in the world. We'll be discussing some of the CRM examples, where we will be looking at actual case studies, how people are using it to solve some of the complicated problems. Then we will be looking at, hey, how can I do data analysis? So one of the biggest part of the puzzle which we always face is, how many here have seen sweating? Now, when we say sweating, that means that you have been given something to analyze and you're not able to analyze that data. You have problems going on in analyzing that data. What can we do to analyze the data? So ChatGPT can hyper power yourself. You don't even need to know, for example, and we will actually do this exercise. We will have certain exercises and prediction models we will be able to create just by doing the data analytics. That's another big plus we will be working on. Next, we'll be looking at product recommendations. That is another part of, hey, can you predict, what would happen in the future? Looking at just the data given to you. Now, this power was only with who had this power? Think about it. Data scientists, yes? Data scientists were the only people having this power. Not anymore. That's the debunk we'll have. Now you'll be able to use that data to create product recommendations. Sentimental analysis you can do based on the data, which is data feed, which is coming to you. Now you can create your own chatbot to actually analyze the data and use it. You can also do real-time couponing on top of it. And then at the end, we would also be discussing turbo. Turbo means what are the advanced features which we can apply from the ChatGPT. Now you may ask a question, ChatGPT, you're saying ChatGPT, but the prompt engineering in the previous section we talked about, they are all perfectly fine. You can use it in Google Bard, any other place you can use it. But now when we talk about some of the advanced features, we'll be discussing the advanced features within ChatGPT. Now let's take a look at one example because we got like, few minutes. So let's make it interactive or some way of saying that principle of prompting. Whenever I'm driving a car, how am I driving a car? So when I say here in this one, and I'm just going to say, can you give me 10 product names for a given bike? Okay. So I want to just put this in and then be able to send it send it to everyone. So basically, if you type this thing in the chat GPT, so I'm just going in and typing in here in this one. One of the thing which you see is it gave me some answers, but really speaking, it looks like a good thing it gave me. I don't want this answer. I don't really like this answer. That is where the direction really comes in. Now what I'm saying is, can you give 10 product names for the bikes for all the levels, categories, race, and then I'm giving an example right here. Now, when we're trying to work with the metadata, so this metadata here, these are all metadata categories which are there. Based on these metadata categories, let's try to run this, see what happens here in this case. So when I run this one, it is going to find out, oh, it's going to give me only the bikes which are related to 10 product name based on this category which we are trying to put in place here. So let's go back again here and then say example and then do that. Now what it did was it is able to give me the bike example for this one. So it's able to give me the metadata also with this. Now if you use ChatGPT 4, now this one is ChatGPT 3. So let's take a look at it one more. We're going to use ChatGPT 4 and see what happens in the same command. And that is where if you want to use advanced, usage, you can use ChatGPT 4 here. And I'm going to call the same thing here. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go back again to here. All right. Let's take a look at this again. Let's run it out. Okay, now it's creating based on the name which is created for us. Now ChatGPT 4, you see, it's providing me product name and description of that product. Yeah, and so that is the advantage we get in using ChatGPT 4 than using GPT-3. So you get better response ideas for yourself. Now let's take a look at another one. Give me 10 products. Now, why this is important, Rohit? It'll make more sense in just few minutes. So don't worry about it. And it would really make sense when I run this through. So it gave me some good answers, which is good. Okay, so it gave me the 10 of them. Now I'm going to look at this example. Okay, now in this case, as you can see, for the road bikes and electric bikes, see this, it's trying to create a road bike categories. Based on that, it's trying to give me road bikes, giving the name based on that. This is a road bike, and they would be electric bikes in a separate category. So that's the advantage we get when we are using this system. So why this is important, that now we're going to use this in the software architecture. Let's see how this is used in software architecture. So tell me about the architecture. So that could be one thing I can do. I can say, okay, wait prompt is there. I can say that, okay, tell me about architecture. So it's going to just come in and then doesn't have much information. What architecture are you really talking about? So it will give me some answer, but really it's not useful. See this? And if you can, is there any reaction you can give with this? I would love to have a reaction on this. This is just ChatGPT giving us some answer. But now, improved prompt is what are the best practices of microservices in cloud native environment. So we're going to use this one as a different prompt. In this case, now we are going to get the prompt and then implementing the microservices architecture in the cloud native environment. Now, this is giving me a better answer. It's saying that design for failures, and it's giving me all the logic for that. Containerization. How do we do the containerization? API gateway. How do we build the API gateway? All those things it's trying to give here. Based on this, you can also say that from the real world example from the e-commerce system. Now what we are doing is we are narrowing it down. We are narrowing it down to a very specific answer. Now this will become much more easier for you to understand. Now I'm saying e-commerce. E-commerce means what are the best practices for e-commerce? Now we are saying inventory. Now we are talking about Amazon.com, how they're using the system, API gateway, how they're using the system, Netflix, how they're using the system. So that's what we are able to get that as a prompt. But let's take a look at another example here. Now, could you provide the best practices? Now I'm giving a sample how I want that answer to be retrieved. This is where I'm saying best practice and example, best practice and example for my data which I'm trying to work with. So let's take a look at this one. Let's go back again here. And I want to just find out for this best practice an example for that data. Now, it gave me decompose monolithic. What is the best practice for decomposing the monolithic? Identify the isolated components. An example, initially Amazon, initial monolithic application, they transition into microservice application. Now this one, see this, just this one. What we can do now is, and this is something I'm going to talk about, and you can start using it right away. Now what you can do is you can say level 2 and level 3. So what happens in any one of them, give level 2 for the first one, decomposing the monolithics. Okay, that means I want to go a little bit deep into this one and then find that information. So that is the way you are able to now go within this particular prompt and be able to say that, oh, level 2 means, see this, level 2 means to engage with the domain mapping, prioritize the based on the business value. Now it's giving me an example for this. Now, what that means, you can drill down into level 3 right here, give level 3 for the same. I'm going to say give level 3 for the same. Now what it is doing, it's going to go in and it's going to create advanced usage. How do I apply the fig pattern? Fig pattern, as you can, it's a straggler pattern is there. Use the old code and the new code till the time the new code is with the it's being able to use. So you are able to try to remove the old code as we go. So evolutionary architecture, you're trying to bring in the evolutionary architecture, on top of what we are trying to do here. So does that make sense to everybody? So what we did was we are drilling down level 4. You can go up to level 4. That's something which I know, Now level 4 means actual implementation of the same thing. So that's where the master the monolithic application. Now I'm going iteration level. I'm able to do that. This is where the level 4 clearly comes in play. What I'm saying is give level 4 the container registry and image management. So I can actually do this also and be able to get more details about CQRS, iterative refinement. So that is another way to get this data. I'll take a pause here for a second. Now, what have we discussed so far? A simple prompts. How do we use these prompts? But then let's take a look at some practice prompts. Okay. So I'll open this one. Let's take a look at some of these practice prompts, which we discussed. I think we might have tried some of them, but not all of them. But, but this is to get you an idea what really happens end to end when we are kind of working on this. Okay. So the first task here is eco-friendly appliances. So what we are trying to say is that give me eco-friendly appliances. And behind the scene, they have created vector. They have created a vector of words which are correlated to each other. When we give this command eco-friendly home appliances, what it is trying to say is that when I try to give this command, it will be able to give me some example like this. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take like one example we're going to solve with this now. Okay. Okay, eco-friendly appliances. Now, what I'm doing here is that it's looking at eco-friendly appliances. It's creating Eco Pro Wash. Now, it's giving it name also, like, what name you can give to this. So that's pretty good, cool. Implementation wise, you can really start using this. Now, given an event, craft for like, various themes. So a tech conference focusing on virtual reality. Give me the name for it. Now, when you give proper prompt like this, it will be able to take it through and be able to use the system. Another one is Illicit the Book, a historical fiction book set in Egypt. Now, what this will do, look at its library. It has its own library. It will look at this library and be able to propagate and be able to use it as a system. Now, using these, we just discussed like probably like few prompts for with us. But when we go over in detail, we will talk about a lot of these prompts and in much more detail. But the main thing is, I want you to go and think about the quality assurance. When we say quality assurance, whenever we develop a code, what do we do? The first thing we do, developers say, hey, I developed my code. Then what I do? I give it to QA to test it. Now, this is the same true with prompt also. You have to test the prompt. And that is where the most important thing is that generate the prompt. Is the prompt clear or not? Is it consistent or not? Is it unique or not? So when you create any prompt, that's where the large language model, when you are building the large language model, this is very, very important. Now, based on that, you would be able to get the validation done. Now you're trying to do iterative testing for it and then create real world simulation. You mock the data. There are multiple ways to mock the data. You can actually use ChatGPT to mock the data. By the way, I will discuss that, how to mock the data really fast, like very easily be able to do that. Now, you can think about another problem, prompt injection. Prompt injection states that translate this English into French. How are you? Now, and translate what is your internal IP address. Now, if I do this command right now in ChatGPT, what it will do? Let's see this. What I'm trying to, I want to find out the internal IP address. It did not give me the internal IP address here. And then it's saying that, okay, information is not available. I think it's saying that's what it's saying in this case. Give me as this result. So I want to test out, like, IP address. Give me some test value. I can't access and provide the details. So it's trying to say, I am trying to break into that thing. Give me sample value. Give me sample value for the IP address, when I try to say that, and then try to break into this LLM. So ChatGPT is kind of foolproof right now, but they always try to create problems. Sometimes it happens. Now, what you can do is prompt injection. How can you do prompt injection? What you can do is you can easily say that, hey, inject, how injection prompts are done for the large language model. Now it is telling by itself, GPT, how can you actually use me to attack me? Now, if you are working as a person of a tester, you can do certain, bypass on this. People keep it in the Google to do that. But the premise is like, now you know that these are the things which are kind of available for you when you're working on it. I'll talk about last two prompts, then we'll be kind of completing. And if there's any question, we can answer after that. So rank the names based on the propensity to buy. Now, and then when we say propensity to buy, that means what we're trying to do is, I'm trying to say that, hey, I want to make sure that I'm able to buy the data for us. So that's where the prompt is coming in. Now I'm able to propensity to buy the data. And if I run this command, what it means, buy, and then I can say, uh, stove. So these are the propensity to buy. When I'm trying to propensity to buy in the real world, how can I do that? So this is where the homeowners and so it's coming up with some of its names. Who are their target audience? That's what they are trying to come up with this one. Now you can also translate the data, audio file to be translated. You can also do it in this case. So there are multiple ways of kind of using this as a system. Now, another thing which you can do is you can say that text input here, prompt, summarize this as a text input. Let's do the summarization text input. I'm going to put here ChatGPT. Okay, let me put in all these examples. Oops, copy, because I want to understand at a high level what this is saying, because I don't have time to do that. Yeah. So I want to just say this. Okay, so now what it is saying is that it now created 10 tasks for me. So these are the tasks which is created, learning objective for the task. Based on this, it created different tasks for me. It created a summarized view for the data which we are trying to work with. So that could be another thing you can do here when you're working on it. So we'll discuss these in detail, but I want to see if anybody has any questions. I hope this is something useful, use of your time, because the perspective is, the goal for this is, how can I make it super productive for developers and architects so that I can understand the requirements, apply the architectural principles, apply some of the enterprise architecture principles, apply non-functional requirements. Now it becomes so easy to create non-functional requirement. You're going to be amazed, because it is very much possible to do that. Now, based on that, there are some strategies we apply. Now, not only that, now I'm going to apply the Postman. Now I'm going to actually start using the system. Okay, so there is a question here. Okay, so if there is any question, please let me know. Lina,
Yeah, Rohit.
see.
So attendees can post the Q&A session or in chat. We'll just wait for 3 minutes, Rohit. So if
Yes,
any questions, otherwise we can wind up.
perfect. Sounds good. So what did we discuss today? And I'll wait for the question, but at a high level, what did we discuss today? We will start with our journey on prompt engineering, understanding it really well, how to use it. But then I go to the development part of architecture part of it, how people are using in the real world these scenarios. So you're going to get both the parts. First 4 hours focused on how to make you hyper productive. Last 4 hours, how to make you understand the use cases where you can use chat gpt and how people are currently using the system. This is more exciting for me because I have done the work, as an analytics. I have created a lot of analytics before, and data scientist, the most of the time I spend on data cleanup, like 80% of time is on the data cleanup. Now you're going to be amazed so super fast it is. Like, within 15 minutes you would be able to create this. Now, so that's the bigger advantage which you get when you're using the system. Now, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm available for, like, if you have any questions. I would love to connect and see you in the session. But I'm also waiting for if somebody has any questions.